Hey, it is Heidi, and I am just doing a nail video today. So I actually had already started taking off some of the old nail polish. A lot of it had already been peeling off because I had it on my nails for far too long. I don't normally do that. What I do is I use non-acetone nail polish remover. I soak the cotton ball and then I let it sit on my fingernails. And that way it loosens up a lot of the nail polish and I can get it off much easier. This is actually one of the longer steps with doing my nails. It takes a little while. It is good nail polish. It stays on your nails fairly well. Usually I can go 2 weeks before I change my nail polish without really noticing like any cracking or peeling or chipping, depending on how much I've been doing with my business or around the house. I do not actually sell ColorStreet. I had a friend that was selling it for a while and I tried it out and I really liked it. There was a little bit of a learning curve, but once I got the hang of it, it was definitely a huge upgrade than sitting around waiting for paint to dry. At this point, I noticed that putting my hand on the bag while taking the nail polish off was actually getting ink on my fingers, so non-acetone nail polish remover will take the ink off of your fingers as well. Then I do go in and I go over the nails one more time with nail polish remover. Sometimes even after they look clean from nail polish, they still have a little bit of residue, and I like for them to be very, very clean before I move on to cutting, trimming, and especially before I move on to actually putting the nail polish strips on. Okay, all clean. And here are my tools. I start pointing at different tools. I've got different like sticks and pokers and scissors and cutters, and then 2 different nail cutters. This first set didn't end up cutting my nails. My nails are pretty strong, but those were just a really cheap set of cutters. So I put those away and I get out the bigger ones. Mostly the nails that I'm cutting, it's because I have a crack in them somewhere, and the cracked nails do tend to catch on things, especially when I'm working with fabric. So I don't normally keep my nails this short, but when I have that many cracks in them or chips and it's low down next to my finger, like this one, you can see I'm cutting pretty low. then I will just cut all of my fingernails to about the same length because it just makes it easier and it looks a little bit more uniform. Otherwise, I would just end up with like 2 or 3 really long nails, and yeah. So this I picked up a while ago. I have a blue one that I actually got at the Dollar Tree a few years ago, and then they didn't carry them anymore, and I couldn't find my blue one, so I found a pink one on Amazon and I ordered it. I can't remember if it's like Omapay or something like that, but I really like them. They do come with 3 tips that are interchangeable, so you can file your nails and you can buff your nails. I don't normally buff my nails. They're pretty naturally smooth, so I just use it for the nail file. If I'm not planning to paint my nails, I will sometimes buff them out just to kind of shine them up. But I have noticed that if I buff them, the ColorStreet nail strips don't stick as well. So for me, I like to square off my fingernails. I don't know if that's a generational thing. I like them to be fairly flat along the top and then barely rounded corners, so very squared off looking. And you can't really tell, but that top of the nail file is moving up and down, and then I just move it a little bit to try to speed it along with shaping my nails the way that I want. So this does take a little while. If I had not cut all of my nails down, it does not take me as long. But because I was cutting all of my nails down and I haven't done my nails in a little while, so they were all pretty messed up. So this particular time, the filing took a little longer than normal. And I do apologize about the lighting and that funny shadow. It has been raining here a lot, and I couldn't get good lighting in the dining room where I was. There was no natural light coming in. I just had the light above my head, and it was getting the shadow from the microphone and the stand. And then I didn't realize that my phone was in the shot the whole time too. So I'm watching myself record to make sure that my hands are staying in frame. Otherwise, I have a habit of moving out of frame all the time. So for this particular nail, it is broken right where I'm filing. It's down kind of below where the skin is. So that one I did go on top and try to file that down because the nail I couldn't cut it low enough because it was going into my skin, but I wanted it to be filed as much as possible so that it wasn't catching on things, because it did keep catching on that tablecloth. So I kept trying to move my hand closer to the camera to try to let people see how I was filing my nails, how I was shaping them, but I'm still getting used to this particular camera setup, so it wasn't always focusing where I was filming. And I kept trying to move my fingers. The middle finger is the hardest to file, especially when you're trying to film. And that is all. Okay, and normally I do my nails with my daughter and I let her pick which nail color we're going to do. She decided she didn't want to do nails with me this time, so I was picking between the blue and the black and white, and I decided to go with the black and white. I wasn't sure if they were glow in the dark or if they were clear, but I liked the way they looked either way. The name, which you can't really read there, is Better Safe Than Starry. I don't know if they're still available. A lot of these nails I've had for a long time. With every package of ColorStreet, it does come with this little emery board. I always have trouble opening them, and I hate the feeling of emery boards, which is why I use that other nail file. And then it does come with a nail prep pad and the nail strips. And usually when I use the nail strips, I use 5 nail strips for each hand, and then my daughter uses the other half of the nail strip, which always makes me feel like I'm getting the best value, because I have not been able to save any of the leftover nail strips for them to be reusable again. It doesn't work for me. So mostly it's still cheaper than me going to the nail salon and waiting for nail polish to dry, so I just deal with it. And then these little prep pads, I think they remove any like dirt or debris, but it also like gets some of the oils off of your fingernails. And then I just shake them out to let them dry. And once I get this open, what I start doing is I bring out all the nails and I start seeing how they look on my actual fingernails. And then I set them up in the order that they will go on my nails. Now, the 2 widest strips, either of those sizes will fit on my thumbnails, and the 2 smallest strips, either of those will fit on my pinky nails. So I usually can kind of pick between the 2 and see which one I like best. And then I take all of the middle sizes and figure out what fingers I want to put them on. Mostly my ring finger on my right hand is a little crooked. It's kind of triangular shaped. So that's the only one that really ever gives me trouble. So I do like to have a little bigger size for that one. But either way, I like lining them up so I see how they look. And then they have a clear cover on top of them. And then you peel up the silver piece and the backing, and then you set it on your fingernail. And here I'm kind of showing, see, it wouldn't fit. So I couldn't even like reuse these, because even when my nails are short, my nail beds are too long. I can't get 2 nails out of 1 strip. So what I do is I try to center it over the middle of the back of my nail and get a little piece kind of attached. And then I put a little pressure, pull on it just slightly, and press it down onto my fingernail, making sure that I get out any air bubbles. And then once I'm happy with the way that it's fitting, then I pull down on the end and it cuts and kind of makes a little overlap at the end of my fingernail. And then you'll see once I'm finished how I deal with that. And sometimes you'll see me kind of rolling my fingernails on top of each other. That does help me get any air bubbles out of the polish strips. In this form right here, they are fairly pliable. This set in particular had a lot of stretch and give to it. So this was a much easier set for me to work with. Sometimes they're a little bit thicker, like especially if it's like a full polish, it's a little bit thicker. So they don't have quite as much give. And my nails are naturally very rounded. And I don't love the air bubbles. So I'm constantly messing around with them, trying to get them the way that I like them. Now with this particular set, it did end up being clear. And I could have either painted my nails or put a colored strip down first, and then the color shows through that clear part. But I thought this would look fun just with the clear parts and then the black acting almost like a French tip on some nails. But of course on the pointer finger and the middle finger, the black is at the base of my nail. So like a reverse French tip. So those are the extras, and I just basically throw them away. So here I'm trying to show you how it folds over my nail, and then I just take the emery board and I run it perpendicular to my nail, and it cuts off any of that excess polish. So I go through and I do that with all of my nails. Sometimes you can kind of see it like rolling off of the emery board, and sometimes I really have to work at it to get it to come off, because if it does stick to my skin, it takes a little bit more work. They're not wet like nail polish, but they are, it's not like a dried nail polish when you put it on your fingers, and it does set and harden once it's on your fingernails. Like the air hardens it up a little bit, so it does feel like actual nail polish once it sets on your fingers. So I do work pretty quickly. I mean, this video is sped up just a bit, but I do work pretty quickly because I want to get not only all of the bubbles out of my nails, I want to get all of this excess off of my fingernails as quickly as possible, because unlike traditional nail polish, if I get a little bit of that on my fingernails, if I wash my hands or take a shower, that peels right off of my skin, no problem. With this, it really kind of sticks on, so it takes a bit more work to get that off. So I'm almost done, but I'm showing you on that middle finger, I used a nail strip that was slightly wider than my fingernail. So I used the end of this like cuticle thing, and I'm just trying to peel it up off of my skin. So I kind of use that pointy end to make a cut in the polish between my fingernail and my skin, and then I just kind of push it around until it rolls up and comes off. And I believe that's a cuticle cutter, and I'm not actually cutting my cuticles, I'm just trimming down the excess nail polish that was just hanging out on the side. Same with this guy. There's just a little bit of nail polish right at the side, and I just use that cuticle cutter to pull it off. Because if I don't do this, then later on when I try to get it off, it will pull the nail polish up, like it peels the nail polish back if I let it harden. I have used that cuticle cutter to cut cuticles, and I actually really love it. It's great. I have no idea where I bought it. All right, and those are my finished nails. Ta-da! So thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.